Good morning, gentlemen. I am going to discuss today two very important events which are going to take place in India. And the first, I'm going to discuss the CAA, that is the Citizens Amendment Act, which has been enforced by the government since yesterday. And second, we're going to discuss the effect of the minorities on the coming election in 2024. Now, when I mean the minorities, I basically mean the Muslims, which constitute about 15% of India's population. Now, there are two things which are look diverse, but they are interconnected. First of all, we must remember that from about the 9th or 10th century, the Muslim invaders, because of the inherent weakness of the Hindus, were able to conquer the whole of North India. And by the 16th and 17th century, they had gone right up to Mysore and South India and conquered even those areas. Now, one thing about the Muslim rule was that it was not a total tyranny. That I will accept the fact. And they allowed the Hindus to continue to worship their own religion, provided they paid the jizya tax, which is enshrined in the Quran. But at the same time, I will also add that the Hindus were basically second-class citizens when the Muslims were ruling the country for close to 900 years. In between, there was sporadic rule by the Hindus, like the Marathas came into power, but they also gave deference to the Mughal emperor in Delhi, though he was a non-entity. With the result, the Mughal emperor survived till 1857, till he was overthrown in the capture of Delhi and his son shot dead by the British. And he himself, that is Bahadur Shah Zafar, was exiled to Rangoon, where he died. Then came 150 to 190 years of British rule, which was definitely better than the Muslim rule, in the sense there was no discrimination against the Hindus, and the Hindus were allowed to live in peace. The jizya was abolished. But whereas the Muslims had been tolerant of Hindu culture, like sati and other nefarious ills which had crept into Hinduism, the British were not that condescending, and the net result was that sati, child marriage, untouchability were abolished by the British. In any case, part of the renaissance of Hinduism took place under the British. But towards the close of the British Raj, the British realized that they may have to leave India, so they started following a policy of divide and rule. They began to create a separate Muslim culture and ethos, and they succeeded by breaking India into two before they left India, what we call the parting kick. And India was divided into Pakistan and India. And the division was on the basis of religion. But it was a partial division, because though Pakistan was created, nearly 10 to 15% of the Muslims in India who could not go to Pakistan were left behind, and they became part of the Indian ethos, the Indian state. Now, there is a dichotomy here. I will explain it to you. The Muslims who were in India left behind, that is in Bhopal and Uttar Pradesh and other places, they were the ones who were agitating for Pakistan. While the Muslims who were in West Pakistan, that is in Punjab and Sindh, other place, didn't want Pakistan. And when Pakistan was granted, those people got it as a gratis, and the Hindus who were left behind, so the Muslims who were left behind in India got nothing, zero. And now they began to get nostalgic in the sense they had a feeling that we were ruling over the Hindus for close to about 900 years, and now we are going to be second-class citizens. They were not second-class citizens, but this was something which was fed into them by their leadership, and the Muslims became paranoid about it. Actually, the Muslims had missed the bus of development when the British came to India, and much of the development was done by the Hindus who were able to shake off their past and move forward. But only to an extent, because there were a lot of obscurantist forces in Hinduism, and Gandhi was one of them, who were not interested in doing away with the caste system, which is the bugbear of the Hindus. And there was a lot of conversion from the Hindus to the Muslims during the Muslim rule. But it was not, I think, by force. I will not say that. It was basically because Hinduism had a lot of defects, and the lower castes were the untouchables. A lot of them embraced Islam, and later they embraced Christianity. Now, until we accept this fact that there were ills in Hinduism, only then the people converted to other religions. Because I haven't found anybody converting to Hinduism, because nobody wants to convert to a caste system here and become a lower caste or high caste or something like that. So Hinduism didn't expand beyond the borders of India. Now, as far as the Islam is concerned, or the Muslims are concerned, who were left behind in India, they began to feel forlorn. They were, of course, pampered by the Congress party which came to power under Pandit Nehru. And, of course, Gandhi left behind his footprints. He said, we must look after the Muslims and all that bullshit. He didn't realize that the subcontinent had been carved on a religious line, and religion per se is not a uniting force. Because within 25 years, the state of Bangladesh was created, and East Pakistan, which was part of West Pakistan, broke away. And it was a question of language. So the breakup was on language and resources. And things began to move forward. Pakistan became a theocratic state. Bangladesh for some time was secular, became a theocratic, and perhaps I think it's secular again now. But India embraced secularism, but secularism in the way in which the Hindus were made second class in their own country. The Hindus, had been ruled for 900 years. So they hadn't got over the ethos, that they have been subjugated all the time. And when they got power, they were a little awe of the Muslims and gave them a lot of rights and privileges and things like that. They allowed them to have their own personal law. They allowed them to have their own property law. And they allowed them to have their own education, the madrasas and things like that. And they allowed them to manage their own mosques and religious places to the Waqf boards. All this was denied to the Hindus, though they were the majority community. And nobody been able to explain why it was done like that, but that's one of the facts of history. So when we come down to the CAA, we realize that something had been done to help the Hindus. Now the Muslims have got about 56 countries in the world, and the Christians have got more than 125. But the Hindus have only 2 countries in the world, that is Nepal and India. And India is the only Hindu country in the world, and that also they go around propagating that we are secular. Why should a Hindu state be secular? Why can't it be a Hindu state? Because Hinduism per se is secular in form. It's not insular like Islam. When the Hindus were ruling India, it was the Parsis who were given succor in India. So many people came to India. The Jews came to India, and there was no persecution against them. But unfortunately, the leadership led by Gandhi and Nehru had some other ideas, and nobody can explain what was the thinking. And they treated the Muslims with kid gloves. But at the same time, they did nothing for the Muslims, let me tell you. They didn't bring about education for them. They didn't bring other things, emancipation among the Muslims. Nothing was done. They were treated as a vote bank. And that vote bank became insular, a little scared. What's going to happen to them in India? A fear psychosis was built up. Now, this sort of thing is continuing, and one of the persons building up a fear psychosis is the Bengal Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee. Now, she's come out hammer and tongs against the CAA. Now, what is the CAA? It is a Citizenship Amendment Act which is put in force by the government of India, I think 2 days back. And it is a law which says that any Hindu who migrated to India before 2014 from 3 countries, that is Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh, will get Indian citizenship. Nothing wrong with it. And at the same time, it also, I think, says that if you do not have any roots in India, then you are an alien. It's basically for the Bangladesh migrants who have just migrated millions across India looking for jobs and food, and then taken false ration cards and other things and becoming Indian citizens. At the same time, they are the fifth column. So that fifth column has to be got rid of and it's going to be identified. But of course, the question is, what will happen to them? Where will they be taken? So that's another problem which has to be sorted out. Now, gentlemen, so the CAA was an essential act which should have been passed in 1947 by the Congress government at that time. It was not done. It left to a brave decision by the BJP and in particular Narendra Modi to bring in this act. Now the act is law. And of course, there are a few leaders who are crying and beating their chests why this has happened. So I've explained to you the significance that the Hindus, which were persecuted for 900 years, given some breathing space with the British, finally came into their own after 47, but they didn't exercise their rights. And it's only after the BJP and then the Modi came to power in 2014 that Hindu culture and the rights of the Hindus were recognized as preponderant as far as India is concerned. So, gentlemen, I will finish the discussion and say on this point that it's a very good move with the Modi government has taken. And though there's a lot of opposition to it, basically from the Congress and people like Mamata Banerjee who have an axe to grind, and nobody can explain to me how Bengal has an electorate of 30% Muslims, which was not the case in 1947. That means millions of people from East Pakistan and Bangladesh have migrated to this country. They are all illegal migrants and they're eating into the vitals of the Indian Union. As far as genuine Muslims who have lived in India, I don't think they have anything to really worry about at all. But at the same time, they have to shed their skin like the snakes. And forget about Pakistan, because Pakistan is a gone case, a basket case. It's going bankrupt. Now we come to the coming election. The coming election, which is going to take place in another 2 months' time, I think is the acid test of Narendra Modi's policies. I have made some astrological charts on my own. As I told you, I'm an amateur astrologer. And what I can see from the horoscope, particularly that of Narendra Modi, is that he is on the ascendant. And despite the fact some people are saying he'll retire at the age of 75 and he's in a 2 years' time and all that BS, I don't think it's going to happen. Modi will serve till 29 and maybe even beyond. And at that time, I think Amit Shah and Yogi, who are the contenders, will be phased out. And the man who may come in at that time will be a surprise. I mean, it could be someone from South India. I don't want to name him. But it looks that it could be Annamalai. I don't mind finally saying his name. And I've seen his horoscope. It's a fantastic horoscope. There's a Raj Yoga in it. And there is a good chance that he could end up as the Prime Minister of India around the time Modi retires. Now, coming to the 24 election, I think it's going to be the watershed election in this country. And one for all, the people have to decide whether you want to go with obscurantist parties like Mamata Banerjee's TMC or the Congress party led by Rahul Gandhi, who's basically a Christian masquerading as a Hindu and talking arrant nonsense, like the statements he has been making against a great freedom fighter, V. Savarkar. I've not understood what's his grouse against him. He's been picking up some industrialists like Adani and attacking them. This again beats my imagination. What's he going to get out of it? And in any case, I think he's going to go to oblivion. There's no chance that he'll ever be the Prime Minister. He'll probably continue some more years here and there, but that's about all. And that should be the end of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty. The end, be all. Now the election is very clear. I think the BJP is headed for a very big victory. And there is no harm in saying that the Hindu vote is going to propel the BJP into power. If the Hindu vote gets united, Hindus still constitute 80% of the population, and there is no way the BJP cannot win. I think there is going to be a polarization and the BJP will win come home. Now there's one community here which is creating a lot of problems for the central government, that is the Sikh community. I won't say all the Sikhs, but there are few of the misguided men, and if you add them up, they become a pretty big number, who keep on propagating that they are not Hindus and we are a separate religion and all that thing. But the fact is, and I'll have to make a separate video on it sometime, that the Hindus and the Sikhs are the same things. The Sikhs are basically Hindus. And I'd like to ask one question to these so-called Khalistani people who are talking of an independent Khalistan. Can anybody explain to me why the queens of Maharaja Ranjit Singh committed sati? 6 of them committed sati, which is a Hindu custom. It's not there in Sikhism. And why the caste system has come into the Sikhs. Anyway, that's a point for discussion at a later stage. And let's end this point by saying that the Sikhs are definitely an offshoot of Hinduism only. Even I consider the Buddhists to be part of Hinduism. And Buddha is recognized as the 9th avatar of Vishnu. So, gentlemen, the next election is going to be the watershed election in India. It will decide where India has to go forward. And if Providence smiles on India, or if I say Buddha smiles on India, Narendra Modi should win a very big majority. And that will not only be good for India, but for world peace. Because a resurgent India, a strong India, can do a lot than a weak India which is groveling before the Americans and the British, which it was doing during the days of the Congress regime. And of course, the Congress is an anomaly now. It had its heyday during the independence movement, but it's all over by the shouting. And now we must look into ourselves in the mirror and see, do we need the Congress party and men like Rahul Gandhi, Mamata Banerjee and these characters? Do we need them? It's for the public to decide, and the masses must decide. And in my opinion, these people too should be given short shrift and sent home. Well, they could spend some time fishing in the river, Ganga or something, or praying to the gods. That's what time they should do. Gentlemen, I'll close now. I hope you have liked this video. Please share it to your friends. Come back for more. And I'll repeat, the CAA is a very good thing which has been brought in. And number 2, BJP is going to win the 24 election. At a parting note, I was just going through the blog by Dinesh Canadian, the leg spinner from Pakistan. And he's come out in full support of the CAA. So I'm also in full support of the CAA. And I'll close now and say goodbye and God bless. Take care and come back and listen to me again.